Need to do is you need to go to the website. You need to go to aplusstudents.com. Once you're on the website, you need to select math as your subject. This is a grade 7 maths lesson, and the name of the topic is data and graphs. Data and graphs. I'll give you the chapter number and the lesson number. The chapter number 23 and lesson number 13. Chapter number 23 and the lesson number 13, and the name of the lesson is interpret interpret line graphs. So we will see today what line graphs are, and we'll try to find values from them. Hi Bede, welcome to the class. So let's go to grade 7, chapter number 23 and lesson number 13. The first question that we have is this, and let me just copy the question. Question number 1. The question number 1 says, let's try to read the line graph. What happens over here is Jack kept a track of how long did it take to finish his homework each day. So these are the days on the horizontal axis, that is the x-axis. On the y-axis, that is the vertical, we have the number of minutes it took him to complete the homework, right? So we can read this as on Saturday it took him 65, Thursday 50, and so on, right? These were the values. Okay, what on which day did it take Jack exactly 55 minutes to finish his homework? Exactly 55 means we need to look at 55 over here. So which day has exactly 55? Tuesday. Agreed? So we can say Tuesday would be your answer, right? Just reading the graph over here. Okay. Okay. Let's suppose if I add another part to the question and I say on which day Jack took least time to complete his homework. So what we can do is, what is the least time? Thursday was 50 minutes, right? That means we can simply write Thursday. On Thursday, yes, perfect. Boy, exactly 55 on Tuesday, and least time would be, the minimum time taken to do the homework would be the lowest value. That was Thursday, right? They can also ask the maximum time he took, what 2 days he took exactly the same time. A lot of questions can be created, right? So gradually we'll see what are the possibilities over here. Okay, in the next question, what is happening? They are giving us two values on a single diagram. Okay, question number 2. This is question number 2. Okay, let's see. This is our question number 2. What is happening over here is that a key would be given. A key would be given when multiple values would be done on a single graph. Okay. This key was given to us. Okay, perfect. When Warren County tracked how much snow cities received during a recent storm, right? So Clarksville is done with the purple and Greenville with the green. Okay, so these are the different graphs that are shown over here. Let's say, how much snow did Clarksville receive on Tuesday? So this would be Tuesday, and this was Clarksville. So we can say 20 centimeters of snow. Agreed? In the same way, we can add another question. We can say, how much snow did Greenville receive on any other day? Let's suppose on Friday. So what we can say is, when we look at Friday, this would be the amount of snow. That would be 10 centimeter of snow. Depending on the question, depending on the requirement, they were saying this. They was in part B. They were speaking about Greenville. In part A, it was Clarksville. So we can see we have two different line graphs over here. So depending on the question, we will try to look at that particular graph. Okay. Let's suppose if we have another, which county had which county had the greatest greatest or highest amount of snow in in a week. This is for a week, right? So what we can do is, we can say, if we do Clarksville, on Sunday it had 60. It had a 60. Then on Monday it had a 60. Tuesday it was 20. Wednesday it is a 40, 60, 50, and 20. That means the total for Clarksville would be 120, 180, 240, 290, and 310 centimeter of snow, right? Let's look at Greenville. Greenville was 50, 20, 40, then we had a 20, then we had a 40, then we had a 10, and then we had a 50, 70, 110, 130, 170, 180, 230. So what we can say is, Clarksville had more snow, or Clarksville got more snow during the week, right? So there could be a lot of questions. There could be comparisons. If there are two line graphs given to us, that means we are comparing two different values. We can find individual values, or we can find the comparative values. The part C was a comparison. We took out the total amount of snow each county got, and then we saw if we had to find the highest, right, or the greatest amount of snow. That means 310 is greater than 230. So Clarksville will have more snow. Agreed? Let's have a look at another example. Okay. It's saying Dean entered the amount he charged to his credit card each month. Question number 3. Dean entered the amount he charged on his credit card each month. October, September, June, January, and November. 5 months are given to us, and the amounts are there. In which month did Dean charge $50 to his credit card account? Let's see. If this was 50, let's try to find September was 50. Is there any other month in which he spent 50? So we can simply say in September he charged $50 to his credit card. Agreed? If this was the first part, let's make another continuation of the question. Can we say in which month did he charge the maximum amount on his credit card? So what we need to see is what is the maximum value. This was 50, this is 90, this was 100, this was 85, and this would be 65, right? That means the highest peak where the graph goes the highest, that is in June, his expenses were the highest, right? Maximum expenses in June because he charged his card $100 in June. Agreed? Okay, let's have a look at another example. For the next question, it says it's a comparative. Question number 4 is a comparative. And it says it's talking about a diner, and they have two possibilities over here. Okay, let's just put this on the side. Just a moment, please. I'll remove the key. I'll increase the size of the diagram so that it's readable for us. Okay. The question number 4 says, a diner in Belmont tracks which condiments are being used by the customers. We are given a key. The brown represents a ketchup and blue represents the relish because a key is already given to us. We need to follow the key. So what they are saying is, in the first part of the question, how many people added relish to their food on Friday? Because the horizontal axis is days and the vertical axis shows us the number of people. Relish was in blue. On Friday, how many people added relish? What would be this value? We can say 90 people. Agreed? 90 people added relish to their food on a Friday. Let's look at another. On which day the least amount of ketchup was used? So what we can see is, since we know the brown represents the ketchup, right? This was 20 people. Oh, sorry. These are the people, right? Number of people using the sauce, and this was the least. That was just 10 over here, right? That means on a Saturday, the on a Saturday, it was the least number of people using the ketchup, right? Okay, let's add another part C to the question. On which day there were more people using ketchup than relish? So now what we need to do is we need to look at the values over here. See, if this was the number of relish, agreed, these were the blue dots are representing the amount of relish used, right? So what we can say is, and these orange dots would represent the amount of ketchup used. What they are saying is on which day there were more people using ketchup than relish. See, on Sunday there were more people using relish, right? Relish was higher. On Monday, more people using relish because ketchup is lower. On a Tuesday, more people are using relish, less people using ketchup. Agreed? But on a Wednesday, the people using ketchup were 40 and the people using relish were 30. That means Tuesday is possible. On which days? Okay. The next one, we say on a Thursday, more people were using ketchup, that were 90, and relish was used by how many? 60. On a Friday, 90 people used relish and only 60 people were using ketchup. 70 people used relish and 10 people used ketchup, right? So which 2 days are there? This and this. More ketchup, right? We can say on Wednesday and what's the next day? More people using ketchup than compared to relish. And Thursday. Do we agree? On Wednesday and Thursday, people are using more ketchup and less relish. Whereas on the other days, they're using more, on the remaining days of the week, they're using more relish and less ketchup, right? So in line graphs, what we just need to do is we need to compare the value on the horizontal axis to the values on the vertical axis. Is there any question? Please do let me know if there is any question I need to explain. Okay, for the next question, let's go to question number 5. The next question says, every year Dover has a citywide relay and reports winning timings. Okay, question number 5. That means the vertical axis shows the winning time and these were the years. In which year was the winning time 30 minutes? Exactly 30 minutes. Which year the time was 30? This was 20. This is 20. This is 40. This is 20. How about this? Can we say this was 30 in which year? In 2015. So we simply write 2015 as an answer. Okay, do we agree? It could be maximum number. They could have asked about any other number, right? So depending on the question, what they're asking us, we simply find that particular value. For the next question, it says we have a comparison of two line graphs. Okay, and they're saying if, just a moment please, let me realign this. Okay, if this is the key given to us, and they're saying that in question number 6, students at Lee Middle School are raising money for a new auditorium. So the first part of the question says, how much money did the 7th grader raise in June? On the horizontal axis, the information given are the months and the amount of money raised. Brown represents the 7th graders and blue represents the 8th graders. 7th graders would mean we look at the graph made with the brown. In June, where is June? The last month is June. So how much money was raised by them? Dollars 70. Agreed? $70 was raised by grade 7 students in June. Let's have a look at another question, part B. Okay, let's see. Okay. In which month did grade 8 students raise more funds than grade 7 students? Anyone? In which month did grade 8 students raise more money than the grade 7 students? We know that the blue line represents the grade 8 students. Agreed? See, what we can see over here is grade blue is below this point. That means grade 8 did less. Blue is below the grade 7s, right? Blue is below grade 7s in June. In May, blue is below grade 7s. April, blue is less than. But what about March? This was more compared to this. Agreed? In March, grade 8 students March. Agreed? There was a single month when grade 8 students may raise more money, and that was March. All the other months, in all the other months, they raise less money. Okay. Okay. Let's see if we would say which grade students raised raise more money or more chat. Okay. So when we are saying that, we're talking about which set of students, grade 7 or grade 8. We have two choices only, right? So how do we find the total number of amount? collected. So if we say grade 7, what was the amount of grade 7? The first one was 90, then it is 70, agreed? Then this is 20, 20, then we have 90, 100, 90, 70, 20, 90, 100, and 70. So what should be the total? 160, 180, 270, 370, and $440, right? What about grade 8 students? This they did $10, $10, then they did $90, then they did $20, then they had 80, and the last they had 50. The total of the numbers would be 110, 210, and $260. So which grade raised more money? We simply compare the values, the amount of money raised. Grade 7 raised $440, grade 8 raised $260. So we can say grade 7 raised more money, right? So the questions can be very different depending on the values that are given to us. In question number 5, we had a single line, right? So single line would be very straightforward, maybe one or two. We cannot do any comparison. But question number 6, we had two line graphs. If two line graphs were given to us, we can always compare the values. Okay. Let's look at another example. Just a simple one. I'll do one or two questions, then let's go to the test. Okay. Question number 7. Question number 7 says, the Financial Aid Office at a Bowen University produced an internal report on the number of scholarships provided to the students. Okay. Bowen University internal report on the number of students receiving scholarships. So in 2011, there were 30 students, 12, 20, 10 students, 10 students, 20, and 10 students, right? So in which year exactly 20 students got scholarships? 20 would be this value. Let's find 20 was this. That means in year 2014, exactly 20 students were given scholarships. Agreed? Very simple, because we have a single graph. In this class, what we are trying to do is we are just trying to interpret. We are not doing any construction. Creating line graphs would be done later on. Right now, what we are doing is we are just looking at the line graphs and we are trying to find certain information that has been asked in the questions. Okay. Question number 8 says, just a moment, please. The key is given to us, and this was the question. Okay. Question number 8 says, some students were told about the paper they use for taking notes. Okay. In a year, years are given on the horizontal and number of students. How many students? Narrow rule paper is done by green. So how many students used narrow rule paper in 2001? In 2001, this is 2001, this was narrow rule paper. How many students were there? 70 students were using narrow rule paper in 2001. Agreed? Let's look at another example. How many students were using wide ruled paper in, let's suppose, 2000, we would say year 2004. So what we can say is, in the year 2004, the wide rule paper was given by this red line, and this was 90. We can simply say 90 students were using wide rule paper, a paper which has a wider margin, right? Okay, let's see what else we can do. The next part is part C. In which years did students prefer a narrow ruled paper over a wide ruled paper? So what were the years? Is there a perfect? Thank you. No, yes, you're saying 2001. Let's see. Yes, in 2001. That's perfect. That's correct, because 2001, the narrow rule is above the wide rule, right? We're looking at which year they preferred narrow rule paper. 2001. What about this? What about 1999? Narrow rule is above. Okay. And what about another? See, in 1991, green dot is above the red dot, right? And green represents the narrow rule. That means more narrows were used. In 2000, red dot is above the green. That means more wide were used, right? 2001, more narrow. 2002, red is above, right? The red dot. That means more wide, more wide. How about this year? The last year. So can we say years, the given year are, in 1999 they preferred 2001 and the year 2004. I wrote a plural over here. It's years, right? They could be a single year in a question, or they could be multiple years, right? In the year 1999, 2001, and 2004, the students preferred a narrow rule paper. Okay. Okay, let's see if we have what we can do in the next question. I'm just trying to find a question which has, okay. let's say for the next question, it says, I'll change the question, please. Just hold on a minute. Let me copy. I'll change the question. For question number 9, it says, this is our question number 9. And they're saying an environmental program is given to us. And they are looking at the weather of Chicago. Okay. And I would change the question to, I'll remove in November. Okay, I'll say, what is the average high temperature from February to November for the given 10 months? How do you find the average? We know that an average is also known as the mean. Mean is written with x dash. How do we find the average? Add all numbers, right, divided by number of months. So if we need to find the average temperature, average high temperature for each month, in February the temperature was 40, in February it was 50, right? 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 and 90. Let's write 60, 70, 80 and 90. Then it decreased to 80, then it is another 80, 70 and 50. Let's add these numbers together. How many months were there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 months. That means there were 10 months. Therefore, average temperature comes out to be, let's add the numbers together. 40 plus 50, right? 90 plus 60 plus 70. I'm using a calculator just to make my life simple. 90, 80, 80, 70 and 50, right? It comes out to be 670 degrees, which was compared in 10 months. That means the average temperature comes out to be 67 degrees. Okay, do we agree on this? So whenever we need to find the average, average is also known as the mean. Okay, let's see. The next question says, we have enough time, we can do a few more questions before we do the test. The next question says, because the test would be very simple, just picking up a value, okay? So they're talking about a summer camp and they're asking us in which year and the number of students per summer camp are given to us. Question number 10. Sophia was in charge of keeping attendance for a local summer camp each year. The question says, in which year did exactly 75 students attend the summer camp? Exactly 75. Let's see, where is 75? This is 75. Let's see. First thing we do is, we know that it's on the y-axis. We extend a line, and only in this particular month there were exactly 70. In this particular year, sorry, there were 75. That means year 2012, there were exactly 75 students who attended the summer camp. Okay, let's try doing some questions from the test. Just a moment, please. Let me copy the question. Just a moment. Maths, grade 7, chapter number 23 and 13, I think. Yes, 13. Just sometimes just need to reload the page. That's why I had to go back. Okay. So the first question in the test says, Dean is noting down the amount that Dean charged for the credit card. Okay. If these are the months given to us, let me just copy the months. Okay, just a moment, please. Sorry. Okay, these are the months given to us. Let's resize. So that's readable for. This is our question number 1 from the test. Can I have the answer to question number 1? Dean entered the amount he charged on his credit card each month into a spreadsheet, right? And he formed a line graph. In which month did Dean charge $50 exactly to his credit card? $50 exactly. Which month did he charge exactly $50? We just need to look at the line graph because on the vertical axis it is showing us the amount, right? We look at 50 and $50 was charged only on a single month, that was September. Agreed? Okay, let's move ahead. Let's see what question number 2 is asking us. This is given as question number 2. Let me just copy the options. Okay. The options are given to us. Okay. And this is our question number 2. They are saying that they're talking about the scholarships offered to the students. Internal report counting the number of scholarships given to the students. In which year exactly 20 students were given scholarships? In which year exactly 20 students were given a scholarship? We know here is a 20. Yes, thank you. We'll show how we found the answer. This was exactly 20 and 20 students were given a scholarship in 2014. Let's look at another question. The next question says, some students were told about the paper they used. Okay, we did a very similar question already. In this question, what we need to see is question number 3. The students are given a choice about what kind of a paper they prefer using. So it says, this is the question given in question number 3. And these are the two options given to us. How many students used narrow rule paper in year 2001? So they are talking about the year. So we look at the year. Can we find the answer and which type of a paper it was? It was narrow rule paper that is drawn in a green color. So we look at the line graph that is in green. Perfect. Thank you, Ediboy. What about this question? 60 or 70? Narrow rule paper was used by right? Yes, thank you. Okay, that would be 70. Because we need to follow the key because two grids, two lines were given to us. Okay, please do complete the remaining questions. Okay, practice more questions, and if there is any problem you can always go through the lesson again. Thank you so much. Best of luck. Have a nice day. Take care. Bye.